How's it going, guys? So this is going to be a video to teach you or show you exactly how to repair or replace your windshield wiper motor on your 944 or 924 or 924S. I'm not able to speak for the 928. I'm not really sure. As for the 944 platform, I'm assuming around the same year as my car, which was 1988, it's probably the exact same, or it's been used before. As for the original 924s from 1976 up to 1986, I'm not necessarily sure if it's the same motor, if it's the same connection points, if it's in the same spot. You have to do your own research for that one. But basically, if your car falls within 1986 to 1990-ish, it's probably the exact same. Now, I'll go ahead and show you the motor assembly we pulled out. So this is what it looks like when it's not cleaned up. I'm doing a rebuild on this, so you're going to see in this video how to rebuild this. And you're also going to be seeing how to reinstall it and how to check it, power test it, and make sure it works all completely. Now, before we begin, you just want small hand tools for this, really. You only need a 10 mil ratchet and a 10 mil wrench, really, to take any of this apart, and then a basic screwdriver set. So, yeah, I'm going to get you guys set up on the workbench. We'll dive into this, and I'll show you how to do it. Alright, guys, so I have you set up on the workbench. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the basics, right? So, what you see here is your power, ground, contact relay. Basically, this here, it's not really a relay. It's more just a power distribution source from the connector. Basically, you want to check and make sure all these pins look good. They're not corroded. As you can see, mine kind of are. So the reason why I'm doing this is my low and intermittent, or like medium speed, don't work. My fast speed does. Now, I don't drive the car in the rain, but it is something that quite annoys me. But so we're gonna work on that. So what you'll see here is all the wire connectors. You want to take pictures when you do this. You see like all the fuzzy stuff, and this is all these magnetized stuff. If you actually move a screwdriver over it, you can see them kind of move because the DC motor inside here will magnetize, and it'll build up dust, dirt, debris, any steel shavings, anything that came off the car, right? So you want to be mindful of that this is magnetic. So if you put it near electronics, you know, be careful. It's not as powerful of a magnet as it could be to like wipe something, but you probably could wipe a hard drive with it if you really wanted to. Another thing too you'll notice is that this motor, if you have ever worked on the headlight motor assembly, this motor looks very much the same as the headlight motor, with a few key exceptions. There's no manual drive for this. The connection points are different. So when we dig into this and we open it, we'll see exactly what it looks like on the inside with the gear assembly and linkages. We'll also clean up all this gunk and debris using, basically we're just gonna use WD-40, an electrical contact cleaner, no brake cleaner, so just be mindful of that. Just good old WD-40 electrical contact cleaner should clean most of this up. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna clean this up, and then I'll come back to you guys in a minute. Alright guys, so as you can see, I've got it cleaned up pretty much all the way. So you're not gonna be able to get it cleaned up completely. That's just not gonna happen. One thing I forgot to mention too is because this is magnetized, make sure you have a cleanish working surface that's free of metal debris and stuff. Otherwise this will just pick it all back up, which I just did. So that's why you see I kind of wiped around my workbench area to make sure I could stop trying to have that happen. So first things first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna crack open this case here, right? So you wanna take a flathead here. Now these are going to be stuck on. Mine has clearly not been serviced since probably 1988 when it was first put on the car, given its condition. So you always make sure you find a place to store your screws. So you just want to take everything off and be mindful of any damaging like the wires. You want to check all like the connection points and stuff. Take this ground wire here. So if you don't know on your car, basically anything brown is going to be your ground or control. So always remember brown. So you see it's a little crusty right up in here around the contact area and stuff like that. I'm not sure how well you guys can see, but it gets a little buildup of dirt and debris. So we'll clean that up with a little bit of contact cleaner. From there, you have your two left down here. once you get all these off, it should, just like that, come right up. Now, you have a gasket. You want to be mindful of this gasket that comes up here. The gasket is very important. So, what are you looking at here? This is lube, assembly lube, for this. Now, I have to eat my own words, right? I do, because there is grease for the cork gear. So, if you've ever watched my headlight motor assembly video, you'll know that I talked about the gear that sits here in the middle. That's cork. And I made the comment that there was no such thing to grease a cork gear. I was wrong, and I admit that. Because it only took me to do a few more items, digging, research, and stuff to find out that this windshield wiper motor has lube assembly gear, gear assembly lube in it. Now, what it is, I can't tell you. I just know it says it on Porsche's repair manual. So yeah, I eat my own words there, and I admit that was a mistake to say. So there you go. Now, in here, you want to see how firm the lube is. If it's like hard, brittle, like a plastic almost, then it's bad. If it isn't, and like mine is, it's very gooey and goopy, then it's still good, right? So now we know that it's not the gear assembly, right? But what we would check for now is freedom of movement of the assembly. So you want to pick it up a bit, and you want to see if you can spin it. If you can spin it by hand, it's bad. If you can't spin it, then it's good. Still, there's still enough resistance there. Now, the issue becomes is how are you going to test this, right? We've got this all taken apart. How are you going to tell this thing to spin so you can see it work? Well, you're not. This is where you have to do some of your own investigation work. You can hook up a power source to here, to your power supply here, and then to your ground, and you can try to test power that way. It may work, it may not. What I like to do instead is this. If you grab one of these relay tester kits, right, you can turn it on, and you can attempt to see if you have a port, like I do, that fits it. And when you test it, make sure the gear doesn't come out when you do this. So my gear just came out. And it spun a bit, so hold on. Okay. Now, also, just like the headlight motor assembly, there's a little metal ball, a little ball bearing that sits right here in the middle. Don't lose it. It is a pain in the rear end to find online, and I have a box of 700 of them because I lost one in my headlight motor assembly. But that's the other video. All right, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna hit test. We're getting a flashing green and a flashing red. Which means the circuit is more than likely bad, or something is messed up in the circuit. Or what I could do there we go. Okay, so this circuit is good. What I'm doing here is I grabbed the ground wire and I grounded it to the external chassis of the motor, and it works. It's lit up and everything. So you know the circuit is good at that point. Is that a completely correct way to test this? No, absolutely not. The best way to do it is if you have a power bench, or if you have a way to apply power to it and fully test the motor, then absolutely go ahead and do that. But for my purposes, if in the garage I don't have that equipment, I'm going to use this. So I'm going to assume, I'm going out on a limb, the motor and all of its internals are good. What's next? Next is your limit switches. If you've ever worked on your headlight motor assembly, you know about these little guys here. Now, lube builds up on these over time. So you just want to take a flathead screwdriver like I'm doing here and just scrape off the tops of the limit switches like so. And you just want to clean them up, get away all that grease that's kind of built up on them, because that grease could be interfering with them. So what I like to do is I like to take a flathead screwdriver and do this, because I don't want to wipe all the lubrication off. I just want to wipe off where the limit switches are. So I'll spend some time doing this just to make it nicer. The limit switches. I'm not going to be able to get it all 100%, but I can get most of it. All right, so we've done all that now, right? So, because you don't want to mess with this either, because this block of grease here is for the worm gear here. So it sits on top of that and lubricates the worm gear. Now, the grease that's inside here, I'm going to take and just try to flatten around the edges. Try to move the grease around a bit. Try to reapply it everywhere. Like so. And then I'll take my rag and I'll clean up around where the seal is going to go again. Now that seal is important. That seal is what's keeping dirt, debris, and everything else from getting inside this gear assembly area. All right, so with the limit switches cleaned up, everything else, what you want to do is you want to take and flip it back over. You want to be mindful how you do this, because you do have that that seal like I mentioned. So I like to do it like this, where I set it down. And when you do it, your limit switches are going to get grease on them again at some point. But if you cleaned them like I did, you should have limited the amount of grease that they touch when it goes back in. Then I'm going to take a couple screws and just start screwing it. Yes, I know the ground wire is not screwed into this. I'm doing that on purpose. What I like doing is getting this all basically set up. So I will take screw these back down. Just so I know everything is aligned and everything is still good. All right, then I will take these off so I can take a look at this, because this doesn't go to the side. All right, so now what? Now I'm gonna look at the back side of this switch here. You see all this dirt, debris, all this other stuff? It looks terrible. Now on mine as well, I'm gonna pick it up, show it to you. Ooh, don't drop it either. See my red wire? It's frayed. So my power wire is cut up and melted, which means that the power supply to this has been melting this block, which kind of makes sense. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause the video here. I'm gonna clean this up. I'm gonna examine it, and then I'll come back to you guys with the results. All right, guys, so I've moved you a bit closer. So this is what the power wire looks like right now. So in order to remove it from the block here, if you want to, if you have the same issue I do, if you look down from the top side, you're looking this way, there's a little metal tab right here. You just push that down with a flat head and then pull from the back. It comes right out. But when I pulled, because it does catch a little bit, but when I pulled, as you can see, the insulation just started coming completely off. All right, so this is terrible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some research really quick, and I will come back to you guys with a correct answer on how to fix this. Okay, guys, so, hold on, you're a little crooked. That's my bad. So I decided on a new plan, right? So I'm not going to rewire this because I've cleaned the connection up. The connection seems fine. It's a little charred in places, a little bit of rubber in some areas, but I've got it mostly cleaned up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a heat shrink tube. I'm going to stick this in here, and thread it through all the way. And I'm just gonna reheat shrink this entire line here. So it'll come out like this. I'll find the end of it, which is nearly at the top, but I need my cutters. So I'm gonna take and I'm gonna cut probably about that much off. It's not the prettiest work, but it'll get the job done. Stick this on. Ta-da! Comes right out. So yeah, I'm gonna stick this heat shrink tube on it. I'm gonna heat shrink it really quick, and then I'll get back to you guys. All right, guys. So a little bit of an update. I've let the wires cool down. So the red one was not the only one that looked like that. While I was letting this one cool down, I looked at this one. My green control wire as well, like a signal wire, was also had the same issue where it was just got so hot the insulation had pulled back. So I've also got and heat shrinked it, removed the old insulation and heat shrinked it. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick it back in, and then when you stick this back in, it literally, like I said, you'll know when you stick it in because it like clicks. So like, you'll see it's coming out there. And once you get it here, you can kind of like grab it. You kind of have to wiggle it a bit depending on how much heat shrink you put on. I'm gonna give it a little tug. See if that solves it. And it's right there. Okay, well, you couldn't hear it, but it clicked. So I can see the tab is now completely out. So, yep. So now with those two repaired, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna route them around. So I already checked the other ones. The other ones seem fine. And then from there, it's just screw them back down, and then we'll go and reinstall it, and we'll check it from there. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to day 2 of the repair. So last you guys saw me, we were talking about this. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna go over there and install this. Now, the install procedure is basically the same as the uninstall. So watching the install, you're gonna see basically the same thing. The only minor difference is that when you take this off the bracket that the wiper arms attached to, that bracket can become stuck on the actual like spline here, and then also on the threads as well. So you wanna be careful with that when you put it back in. But when you start taking the bolts off, one of these 3 bolts that go in here will help pry it up. It just takes a little bit of effort. It's a 10 mil. So we're just gonna go over there, hook this all back up, and then we should be good to go. All right, guys, so we're back over here. So you see, you have your wiper arm here that's gonna sit right on top of the motor. You have your connector, which I'm just gonna stick over here, so it's out of the way. And then we have our motor itself. Now, the way this goes in, you just wanna sort of get it to go back in the way you took it out, which usually just involves a lot of spinning and figuring out how you're going to angle this to get it to go back in. Now, in hindsight, you probably could take this off, which I'm going to see if I do take this off, see if it's a little bit easier to, I am turning it the wrong way. I'll take this off, see if this bracket comes up. I didn't take this bracket off on the uninstall because I didn't think it was necessary, but it might be necessary for the install. This is my first time doing this job, so That might give me just, yep. Okay, so doing that gave me just enough clearance to get the bolts and stuff lined up. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this back in. Make sure it gets tightened up. Here we go. Now, when I did this, right, this arm was stuck on here, and it was very much impossible to get it off. So I had to use one of these and sit it underneath there and pull it up. I don't have that issue now that it's off and free. So all we're gonna do now is you're gonna take your 3 bolts, start threading them in, get them lined up. Like so. And there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten these up. And you can see the motor itself kind of sat up a little bit. And I like to do this in a sequence. So I go around and around and around until I feel like the motor is really tightened up. Double check, give them an extra quarter turn, like so. Now with that installed, you can bring your windshield wiper motor arm back over. Now when you set this on here, you want to make sure it's actually seated on the like pyramid looking shape. I forget the name of it. But you want to make sure it sits on the like half circle ridge and not on the threads themselves, so it kind of firmly plants itself there. And then you're going to take your next 10 mil nut like so, and then I actually am going to use a ratchet. Oh, you guys are following, my bad. And then I'm actually going to use a ratchet. I'm sorry about that. I've been thinking about getting a POV camera, but I just haven't gotten one yet. Okay, so now that is reinstalled and put back on. Okay? Now, that was the other fun part, the cover. The cover itself is quite simple. It's just getting it lined back up into the holes that it came out of is the challenge. Like so. And then you take your little Phillips head screw that holds it down, and you just tighten it up. It doesn't need to be screwdrivered down or anything. You can just finger tighten it. And then pick your connector. And your connector can only go one way, so no worries about it being plugged in incorrectly. I just bumped you guys. Probably would have been easier to do the connector before you put this back on, but you can do it either way. All right, so now that is completely reinstalled. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward repair, honestly. It's not that difficult. But now we have to test if our repair worked. So let's go into the car and test it. All right, guys, we are in the car. So now I'm gonna take and turn my key on. I'm not gonna turn the whole car on completely. So now we're in the off position. I'm gonna turn to low, high, So low works, and then off. I don't have an intermittent, but if you had an intermittent relay, it's down. So if I push this down, that's where it would be. So this would be off, low, or this is high. There we go, high, low, off. It's just like that, guys. All right, so we got all that done today. Now, the cool thing is now I have low and high speed on my wipers. Problem is I don't have intermittent. I'll have to order an intermittent relay, but that's a different story for a different day. So, to follow these steps, check your motor, check your wires, check your contact block, check everything else, and usually the motor itself is fine. These things are robust for what they are. Check everything else, check the grease, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple repair. You can easily fix these, and you can dig into them, and you can basically get the system up and running without having to spend $80 to $120 to fix it, unless your stator windings go bad, and then it's even worse. But yeah, so I will leave you guys here with all that information, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe, or whatever, and leave in the comments below if there's another repair that's minor like this that you want to see me do, or anything like that. Just let me know. I will see you guys in the next one.